Friends, this is Nick, and I call my channel DZ Performance, and I really appreciate you tuning in. The project that I've got to bring you this week is the motorhome 454. I made an upgrade to casting number 290 cylinder heads off of a 1970 402, 306, 396, and so what it did is increase the compression ratio and a slightly better head. I also did a comparison on this motor of the 770 Brawler and the 870 Street Avenger. I'll show you some dyno pulls and come back with the results and exact specs of the motor. Something I forgot to mention to you is if you stay till the end of the video, I want to show you the finds that I've bought for rebuilding 454s and 400 small blocks my road trips this fall.
Constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer sweeper makes it easy.
Loaded at 48, isn't it?
Yeah, it floated.
Okay, I'm back. Let me give you just a little brief history of this project. Last February, I wanted to buy a motorhome 454 just to show what kind of improvements could be made off of something you could buy, a running motor off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. I gave $1,000 for a supposedly great condition, 454 that was out of a Winnebago. The project got a little unrealistic because I snagged a heck of a deal. It was a replacement motor that had almost no miles on it, so it's in very good condition. But I've owned a lot of motorhome 454s off of buying off the internet, paper, Craigslist, whatever, and had good luck buying motors and modifying them. And I just wanted to show what could be done with one of these and do some testing on some parts for myself. So the first project I did on this is I got it running on the startup stand. Sounded great. I didn't dyno test it because there's been so much history of magazines and different people testing these, and they make 335 horse and 485 foot-pounds of torque, give or take a couple horsepower. That's just right in the ballpark of what they do. This one, so I got it running, and the first changes I made to it is I left the peanut port heads and the 7.7 to 1 compression, the tiny cam. I did put a solid lifter in on the camshaft and rolled it around and put a dial indicator on it, and it had approximately 400 thousandths of valve lift, so I assume it is the totally stock cam that is 395 lift and 195 duration at 50 thousandths. So I upgraded that motor with 1.8 Scorpion roller rockers just to give it a 2 duration more on the cam and 30 thousandths more lift, hoping that would wake it up a little bit. I put a Wyand Stealth dual plane intake manifold on it. The reason I use the Stealth is it's got the smallest openings at the heads that of many of those dual plane intakes that are fairly tall, and I thought they'd work best with the peanut ports. I left them on this test just so I could only be testing the cylinder heads. But back to test one, we did the Scorpion rockers. We did the Stealth intake. It had a 1-inch 4-hole tapered spacer run with a 770 carburetor, and once again it would have had the 7.7 to 1 stock compression. Stock cam is just an intake, rockers, carburetor, spacer, and it did 378 horsepower and approximately 495 foot-pounds of torque. I'll show you that sheet in just a second. So this test number 2, the only thing I changed was the cylinder heads. The peanut ports are, much maligned. They're, terrible heads is what a lot of people thinks. So I upgraded to a set of casting number 290 cylinder heads. They were off of a 1970 402, they call them 396s, but it was a 402 1970 truck motor. That's the same casting number that they used on the LS5 454s that year. So they're a above average cylinder head. They were upgraded with a 3-angle valve job, new guides, and I did a minor bowl blend pocket port on them. So the combustion chambers, and they had been milled, surfaced about 15 thousandths. So the combustion chambers was somewhere around 97 cc's, and the compression would have been brought up to 9.2 to 1 is what the static compression would have been on this motor at testing. So just with the cylinder heads, our reviewing here, our first test got us 379 horse, 491 foot-pounds of torque exactly. The upgrade to the 990 cylinder heads, it got an additional 7 horsepower at peak and an additional 17 foot-pounds at peak. That, a lot of people has a mathematical formula that they believe that you get 3% for every 1 point of compression. Well, we got 1.5, and we didn't get 3%, maybe approximately half of that. But something to look at is I penciled some numbers in here. At the lower RPMs, it was doing a little better on horsepower. The cam is just so small, and it's just choking the motor to death. I plan on doing a custom roller cam upgrade, change the intake, and change to a custom spacer, and see what this motor can do here in the next couple months. But the 390 cylinder head, the casting number 290 cylinder heads, they picked it up 7 horses and 17 foot-pounds of torque. I was hoping for at least 10 horses and at least 20 foot-pounds of torque is what I was telling people around me when I took this motor to the dyno shop. But it was an improvement. While I had it there on the dyno, I took my 870 Street Avenger with me, and the carburetor was maybe just too big. It didn't like the 870. It was down 8 horsepower and 13 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if I showed you the jetting on it, it is a little rich. It needed to be leaned down some, but I didn't jet it. I just I ran it right off of the shelf like I usually run it. So anyway, I'm going to show you a video of my inventory the core motors that I bought this fall, but this is the end of this video on the test. Hang tight if you want to see some core motors. Okay, this is the start of the tour of my core motors that I ran around the Midwest and picked up. I always have great luck finding core motors in the farm country. Farmers I buy 454s, and usually I try to stick to the 509 casting number 400 small blocks. I have the best luck with those. So I'll go through these and tell you what they are. But the one that I'm starting out with, the one that I'm most excited about is I bought a very low mile 400 small block. There's very little wear in this motor. It will be a perfect dingle ball flex hone. Put it back together, polish the crank by hand, rings, bearings. I'm going to put ARP rod bolts in it and just put it together with a cam. And I snagged a set of I think they're 062 is the casting number on the good Vortec heads. I got a good condition set of Vortec heads. This is a project that a lot of people's asked about. A lot of people talks about is just taking some good quality Vortec heads on a low mile 400, put a cam in it, intake, and see what happens. I'm excited about this. I'm going to dyno test this motor, and I'm going to put it in a car and go do some drag racing. But that came out of a low mile 77 3/4 ton truck that they were restoring, and I think they upgraded to a big block. But that's a nice 400 509 casting number small block that we're going to do some dyno testing on. That's just going to be a ring job rebuild and fun motor that won't have much money in it. I snagged that motor for $450. The heads are $200 heads, and real good pieces. Is going to work real well. This is a 2-bolt main. I bought that in Montezuma, Iowa. Once again, all the good deals that I find on motors and 454 seems like they're out in farm country. They were farmers, loved those square bodies with big motors in them. 400 small blocks and 454 is exactly what I'm into. That is another one that came from the same guy in Montezuma, Iowa. It's a 4-bolt main. I'm hunting for 4-bolt mains because I don't believe in a 2-bolt main over 650 horse, and the 496 builds, I like to use the 445 casting number 4-bolt mains. They're kind of tough to find, but if you're willing to drive a lot of miles and go get one when they put it up for sale, you can find them. That is another 4-bolt main, Central Iowa, 445 casting number. This is Southern Kansas. I think I was eastern Kansas, somewhere near Pittsburgh. That's a 2-bolt main. I think that's a 289 casting block, 2-bolt main, 454. It came out of a dually 1-ton truck. I even saw the truck on that one that they changed it out of. That is another 4-bolt main, Northern Missouri, a 445 casting number. That's Southern Kansas block is where I got it. It's near Wichita when I bought that one. That one's another Central Iowa. That was a short block that I had a use for some of the parts in it. Tore it apart already. I'm going to use that block for actually the motor that's in my Camaro. I'm going to switch out the block. I got 2-bolt main studs, and that motor was a way overachiever. Went almost to 700 horse, and like I say, I like to keep them 650 and under on a 2-bolt main. You just don't have any problems at that point. Well, thanks for watching my video, and if you stayed this long, I sure do appreciate it. This is Nick. I'll see you later.